Have you ever walked into a room and suddenly forgotten why you went in there? Or maybe you found yourself searching for the right word in the middle of a sentence, or misplacing your glasses, only to discover them resting right on your head. Moments like these happen to all of us from time to time. They might even seem funny or harmless at first. But what if they're not just everyday forgetfulness? What if they're early signs of something more serious? As we age, our bodies and minds naturally go through changes. Some of these changes are perfectly normal, but others, especially those that affect our memory, reasoning, and ability to carry out simple daily tasks, could be early warning signs of dementia, a condition that affects millions of older adults around the world, particularly in the United States. Dementia is not a normal part of aging. It's a medical condition that deserves attention, understanding, and early action. This video is especially made for you, whether you're a senior yourself, a caregiver, or simply someone who wants to take charge of your health as you grow older. Today, we're going to talk about the early signs of dementia that often get overlooked, brushed off, or mistaken for just getting old. We'll walk you through the subtle red flags that can show up months or even years before a diagnosis, like forgetting appointments, getting lost in familiar places, or struggling with daily decisions. These signs often start small, but they can quietly grow into something that affects your independence and quality of life. But here's the good news. By recognizing these signs early, we have the power to respond. Dementia doesn't happen overnight, and in many cases, it can be delayed or its impact reduced with the right lifestyle changes and mental habits. That's why we're not just here to talk about the problem. We'll also give you practical tips on how to protect your brain health, stay mentally sharp, and enjoy a fulfilling life well into your golden years. So grab a comfortable seat, maybe a cup of tea or coffee, and join us as we dive into this important conversation. Because the earlier we understand what's happening in our minds, the better prepared we'll be to take care of ourselves and those we love. If you've ever had questions about memory loss or concerns about a loved one showing signs of confusion or forgetfulness, this video could make a real difference. Let's begin by taking a closer look at the early warning signs of dementia, what they look like, how they feel, and why they matter. The first early sign of dementia often shows up in the form of short-term memory loss, and it can be so subtle that many people don't even notice it at first. This isn't about forgetting where you left your keys once in a while, or missing a friend's birthday because you were busy. We all do that. This kind of memory loss is different. It involves forgetting things that just happened, like asking the same question repeatedly because you don't remember the answer you were just given, or telling the same story multiple times in one conversation without realizing it. These moments can feel like small slips, but over time, they become more frequent and more noticeable, not just to the person experiencing them, but to family members and friends as well. What makes short-term memory loss particularly tricky is that it often hides in plain sight. Many older adults may try to cover up their forgetfulness by making jokes, using notes more often, or blaming it on stress or fatigue. But when someone begins to forget everyday details like whether they took their medication that morning or what they ate for lunch just an hour ago, it's time to take a closer look. Memory loss that interferes with daily life, not just memory that's inconvenient, but memory that affects a person's ability to function, is a serious sign that something deeper may be going on in the brain. This is because dementia starts in the parts of the brain responsible for learning and storing new information. That's why short-term memory is affected first, while long-term memories, like childhood stories or songs from decades ago, often remain intact for much longer. Someone might recall events from their youth with vivid clarity, yet struggle to remember what they were doing just yesterday. It's like the brain is slowly losing its ability to file new experiences, and those recent files are either being misplaced or erased entirely. Another clue is when memory loss begins to disrupt familiar routines. A person who once managed household bills with ease may now miss payments or forget how to write a check. A home cook might forget recipes they've known for years, or leave the stove on by accident. These aren't just signs of aging, they're signs that the brain is no longer processing information the way it used to. This shift often brings a growing sense of confusion or frustration, which can lead to changes in mood, irritability, or even withdrawal from social activities due to embarrassment. If you or someone you know is showing signs like these, it's important not to ignore them. Many people delay seeking help because they fear the stigma of dementia or think nothing can be done. But the truth is, early detection can make a meaningful difference. A visit to a doctor or memory specialist can help determine whether the changes are due to dementia or something else, like medication side effects, vitamin deficiencies, or depression, all of which can mimic memory loss. The earlier dementia is diagnosed, the sooner steps can be taken to slow its progression. There are strategies and treatments that can help support brain health, build mental resilience, and provide a better quality of life. And equally important, early awareness allows families to prepare, adjust, and support one another through the journey. In our next section, we'll talk about another important early sign, difficulty with planning or problem solving, and how this too can quietly signal changes in brain function. Stay with us as we continue uncovering the clues that may help you or a loved one stay ahead of dementia. The second early sign of dementia often reveals itself in difficulty with planning or problem solving. For many older adults, tasks that once came naturally, like following a recipe, paying bills, or planning a trip, start to feel confusing or overwhelming. While everyone occasionally makes a mistake balancing a checkbook or forgets to pick up an item at the store, dementia-related challenges are more persistent and more disruptive. It's not just forgetting a detail, it's forgetting the process altogether, or not knowing where to even begin. Imagine someone who has made the same family meal for years. Suddenly, they can't remember what ingredients to buy or what steps come next in the preparation. Or consider a person who handled the household finances all their life, now feeling lost when looking at a bank statement. These moments can be frightening. They can make a person feel like a stranger in their own life. And what's worse, they often try to hide the confusion, fearing judgment, or not wanting to burden others. This difficulty also appears in everyday problem solving. For example, someone might have trouble figuring out how to get from point A to point B, even if it's a route they've driven many times before. Or they might struggle with managing unexpected situations, like what to do when the power goes out, or how to handle a simple scheduling conflict. These tasks require cognitive flexibility, the brain's ability to think ahead, evaluate options, and adjust to new information. Dementia slowly chips away at that ability. In the early stages, the person might become easily frustrated when they can't complete a task that once felt simple. You may notice more sticky notes around their home, or an increased dependence on reminders and checklists. While these are useful tools, they also serve as a quiet signal that something deeper may be going on. If the person becomes defensive or anxious when asked about these habits, it's a further hint that they sense something is wrong. Changes in the ability to manage daily plans can also impact relationships. Loved ones may misunderstand the behavior, thinking someone is simply being forgetful, lazy, or stubborn. In truth, that person may be silently battling the early effects of a condition they don't yet understand. This often leads to tension, withdrawal from social engagements, or even depression. Recognizing this sign early allows for important conversations to begin. Medical professionals can evaluate cognitive function through memory and reasoning tests, and rule out other possible causes such as medication side effects or thyroid issues. If dementia is confirmed, the individual and their family can work together to create a supportive environment, simplifying routines, organizing spaces, and using tools that support memory and planning. Importantly, just because someone has occasional trouble planning doesn't automatically mean they have dementia. But if the changes are new, frequent, and disruptive to daily life, it's time to pay attention. Early identification means more time to adapt, explore treatment options, and maintain a sense of independence and dignity. Planning and problem solving are deeply connected to our sense of control in life. Losing that ability can be unsettling. But with support, understanding, and medical guidance, older adults can still live rich, meaningful lives even in the early stages of dementia. In the next section, we'll explore another sign that's often overlooked: challenges with language and communication, which can quietly impact how someone expresses themselves and interacts with the world around them. Stay with us as we continue learning how to spot dementia in its earliest and most manageable stages. The third early sign of dementia is difficulty with language and communication. We often take for granted how naturally we express ourselves in conversation, how we find the right words, follow the thread of a discussion, or tell a story. But for someone in the early stages of dementia, these once simple tasks can become confusing, frustrating, and even embarrassing. They may begin to struggle with finding the right words, repeating themselves, or losing track of what they're trying to say. Imagine an older adult in the middle of a conversation who suddenly stops mid-sentence. They know what they want to say, but the words won't come. Or they substitute words without realizing, saying that thing you sit on instead of chair, or the hand clock instead of watch. It's not just a case of forgetfulness. It's a noticeable breakdown in the brain's ability to access language. These moments can be subtle at first, but they grow more frequent over time. Conversations become harder to follow, especially if there are multiple people talking or if the topic changes quickly. The person may start to withdraw from social situations, not because they don't care, but because participating becomes mentally exhausting. They may feel anxious about making mistakes or feel embarrassed when they can't keep up. This can lead to isolation, one of the more heartbreaking consequences of cognitive decline. Storytelling also becomes a challenge. A person with early dementia might begin a story, but then lose their place or forget key details. Or they might retell the same story multiple times, unaware they've already shared it. While these may seem like small slips, they're often distressing for the individual. They might get frustrated when others try to correct them, or become quiet to avoid drawing attention to their confusion. Reading and writing can also be affected. Someone might have trouble following written instructions, like a recipe or an email. Their handwriting may become less clear, or their notes less organized. You might notice that they pause more often when reading out loud or skip over words without realizing it. These subtle shifts can feel like a loss of independence, especially for people who once took pride in writing letters, reading books, or communicating clearly. It's important to recognize that occasional tip-of-the-tongue moments are completely normal with age. But when these language difficulties become frequent and disruptive, especially when paired with other memory or thinking issues, they could be early indicators of dementia. The key difference is consistency. If a loved one is regularly struggling to follow conversations or express themselves, it's time to take a closer look. Family members and caregivers can help by being patient, speaking slowly, and offering gentle reminders. Avoid correcting or finishing sentences unless asked. This can feel patronizing. Instead, create a supportive space where communication feels safe, not stressful. Encouraging the use of visual aids, like pictures or written reminders, can also be helpful tools. Seeking medical advice is essential. A doctor or neurologist can conduct language-based cognitive tests and rule out other causes, such as hearing loss, stress, or medication side effects. In some cases, speech therapy may be recommended to help maintain communication skills for as long as possible. Difficulties with language can make a person feel isolated, but with understanding and care, it doesn't have to be that way. Being able to speak and be heard is a fundamental part of feeling connected and human. By recognizing and addressing these early signs, we can help our loved ones stay engaged in the world around them and preserve their voice for as long as possible. Up next, we'll talk about another telling change: increased confusion with time or place, an early symptom that can make even familiar environments feel unfamiliar and disorienting. The fourth early sign of dementia is confusion with time or place, a symptom that can slowly chip away at a person's sense of security and orientation in the world. While it's normal for anyone to occasionally forget the date or lose track of time when deeply focused on something, for someone in the early stages of dementia, this disorientation becomes more persistent and problematic. One of the first noticeable signs is trouble keeping track of dates, seasons, or the passage of time. A person might wake up in the middle of the night thinking it's morning, or they might believe it's winter when it's clearly spring. They may forget what day it is, even after being reminded several times, or miss important appointments, birthdays, or events they usually never overlook. Time seems to move differently for them, and this disconnection can make daily life unpredictable and confusing. Spatial confusion is another red flag. An individual might get lost in a familiar neighborhood, forget how they got to a place, or even feel unsure about where they are in the moment. Imagine walking down the same street you've lived on for 30 years, but suddenly it looks unfamiliar, like a different world. This isn't simply forgetfulness, it's a frightening sense of displacement. In early dementia, the brain struggles to map familiar environments, which can cause anxiety and fear, especially when the person is alone or in an unfamiliar setting. One heartbreaking scenario often reported by families is when a loved one goes for a walk or drives to a nearby store and then can't find their way back. Even more worrying is when they become confused in their own home. They might ask, "Whose house is this?" or walk into a different room and forget why they went there. These episodes of confusion not only affect the person experiencing them, but also those around them, who may feel helpless, scared, or unsure of how to respond. This confusion with time and place also extends into daily routines. Someone with early dementia might prepare dinner at 10 a.m. or get dressed for bed right after lunch. They may miss meals or medications because they can't follow the clock, or they might believe something that happened years ago is happening right now. For example, they may talk as if a long-deceased relative is still alive or confuse the past with the present. This can lead to emotional distress and misunderstandings with family members who don't immediately realize what's going on. As always, the key difference between normal aging and dementia is how often and how deeply these issues affect daily life. A healthy older adult might occasionally forget the date but can figure it out quickly or check a calendar. A person with early dementia, however, might lose their grip on the broader context of time entirely, and that confusion doesn't go away easily. Families and caregivers can help by creating supportive routines, keeping calendars visible, using clocks with large numbers, and placing reminders in key areas of the home can offer grounding and reassurance. It's also helpful to gently reorient the person without scolding or correcting them harshly. Simple phrases like, "It's Monday morning, time for breakfast," can go a long way in easing their confusion. Medical professionals can assess these symptoms through cognitive evaluations. It's important to act early, as this confusion can increase the risk of wandering or accidents if not addressed. Some medications and therapies may help manage these symptoms or slow their progression, especially in the early stages. Recognizing this sign early and responding with compassion and structure can help someone with dementia feel safer and more confident, even as the world around them begins to feel unfamiliar. The fifth early sign of dementia is trouble understanding visual images and spatial relationships, a symptom that can quietly interfere with a person's ability to interpret the world around them. At first, this issue might seem subtle: a small stumble on the stairs, difficulty parking a car, or misjudging the distance to a chair. But over time, these visual spatial challenges become more noticeable and more disruptive to everyday life. In healthy aging, eyesight may naturally decline, often due to conditions like cataracts or glaucoma. But in dementia, the brain's ability to make sense of what the eyes see begins to falter. It's not just that the person sees poorly. It's that their brain struggles to process visual information accurately. This can lead to confusion, poor depth perception, or difficulty reading, judging distance, and navigating spaces. One common example is difficulty recognizing objects or interpreting what they are used for. A person might look at a fork and not immediately know how to use it, or they might reach for a doorknob but misjudge its location, causing their hand to miss it entirely. Even walking through a room can become challenging. A patterned rug might look like a hole in the floor, or a shiny surface may seem like water. These misperceptions can lead to fear, hesitation, and even falls. Driving is another area where this sign of dementia becomes particularly dangerous. A person may have trouble judging how far away other cars are or understanding traffic signals. They might struggle with lane changes or feel lost even on familiar roads because the spatial layout no longer feels familiar. This can make driving not only stressful but unsafe. Sadly, many early signs of visual spatial issues go unnoticed until a near miss or accident forces a deeper look. Another form this symptom can take is difficulty reading. People with early dementia might complain that the words on a page are hard to follow, not because their eyes are failing, but because their brain is no longer tracking the lines correctly. They may skip lines, reread the same sentence, or get frustrated trying to follow even a short paragraph. These issues can make them withdraw from hobbies like reading the newspaper or doing crossword puzzles, activities they once enjoyed. Additionally, this symptom can affect how someone sees themselves in a mirror. Some people with dementia begin to feel frightened or confused by their own reflection, not recognizing themselves. They might believe someone else is in the room or feel like they're being watched. This distress can lead to agitation or attempts to cover mirrors or avoid reflective surfaces altogether. Family members might start noticing that their loved one seems more hesitant when moving around, reaching for things, or navigating familiar spaces. They may bump into furniture more often or seem unsure on stairs or uneven ground. These signs are especially concerning because they increase the risk of injury and can cause someone to become more sedentary out of fear of falling. To support someone facing these challenges, it's important to simplify their environment. Removing tripping hazards, improving lighting, using high-contrast colors for furniture and floors, and eliminating reflective or shiny surfaces can help reduce confusion. It's also helpful to avoid overwhelming patterns on walls or rugs. Gentle reassurance and guidance are crucial, especially when someone becomes frightened or unsure of what they're seeing. Health professionals can run vision tests, but they'll also assess how the brain processes visual information, which helps distinguish dementia-related problems from typical age-related vision decline. Early intervention, including therapy and cognitive training, can help the person adapt and preserve confidence in their daily routines. Recognizing this early sign of dementia is vital, not only for maintaining physical safety, but for preserving dignity, independence, and a sense of control in a changing world. The sixth early sign of dementia is difficulty with speaking or writing, a symptom that often sneaks up quietly but can cause significant frustration for both the individual and those around them. Language is one of the most fundamental tools we use to connect with others, express our needs, and navigate daily life. When it begins to falter, the person affected might struggle to find the right words, repeat themselves often, or lose the thread of a conversation entirely. This symptom can present itself in various ways. For example, someone who once spoke clearly and confidently may begin to hesitate frequently or use vague filler words like thing or stuff in place of specific nouns. They might begin a story but forget where it's going midway, leaving the listener confused. Or they may repeat themselves, not realizing they just said the same thing a moment earlier. These small lapses in communication can become more frequent and noticeable over time. In writing, a person might struggle to form coherent sentences or mix up words in a way that seems odd. Someone who used to write letters or emails might avoid doing so, fearing they'll make mistakes. They may forget how to spell common words or use incorrect grammar without realizing it. Even filling out a simple form at a doctor's office or writing a shopping list can become overwhelming and confusing. During conversations, individuals with this symptom may lose track of what others are saying, especially in group discussions or noisy environments. They might interrupt at inappropriate times or respond in ways that don't quite fit the context. This can make them appear disoriented or inattentive, even though the real issue lies in how their brain is processing and organizing language. Another telling sign is substituting words with unrelated or made-up terms. For example, instead of saying refrigerator, they might call it the cold thing, or even something nonsensical like food closet. This is not just forgetfulness. It's a deeper issue with retrieving and matching language. Over time, this can make conversations difficult and frustrating, both for the individual and those around them. Because of this, people with early dementia may begin to withdraw from social situations. They might feel embarrassed or anxious about speaking up, fearing they'll say something wrong or not make sense. This can lead to increased isolation, which only worsens cognitive decline over time. They might stop participating in group activities, avoid phone calls, or decline invitations, all to avoid the stress of communication. Family and friends might notice that their loved one is quieter than usual or takes longer to respond in conversations. They might also observe strange or repetitive phrases or find handwritten notes that are jumbled or hard to follow. These early language problems are often misattributed to stress or normal aging, but when they persist or worsen, they should not be ignored. Supporting someone facing this symptom requires patience, understanding, and gentle communication strategies. Speaking slowly, using simple sentences, and allowing more time for responses can help. It's also important not to correct them harshly or draw attention to their mistakes, as this can increase anxiety and self-consciousness. Encouraging activities like reading aloud, word games, or even singing familiar songs can help maintain some language skills. Speech therapists can be a valuable resource in this stage. They can assess the severity of the language issues and suggest practical strategies or exercises to help improve communication. Early diagnosis and support can greatly reduce frustration and help preserve confidence in communication. In essence, language is one of the most human parts of our identity. When it begins to slip away, it can be deeply unsettling. But by recognizing these signs early and offering the right kind of support, families can help their loved ones continue to express themselves and stay connected. How to prevent dementia? Practical steps for a healthier brain. While dementia is a complex condition with various causes and risk factors, many studies have shown that there are practical lifestyle choices and habits that can significantly reduce the risk of developing it. Prevention isn't about one single magic cure. It's about consistently making small, thoughtful changes that support brain health over time. Just like we take care of our bodies with good food, exercise, and sleep, our brains also need regular attention, stimulation, and nourishment to stay sharp and functional as we age. One of the most important steps in preventing dementia is maintaining a healthy and balanced diet. What we eat has a direct effect on brain function. Diets rich in vegetables, fruits, whole grains, lean proteins, especially fish, and healthy fats, such as the Mediterranean or DASH diets, have been associated with a lower risk of cognitive decline. Foods high in antioxidants, like berries, dark leafy greens, nuts, and olive oil, help reduce inflammation and oxidative stress in the brain. At the same time, it's wise to reduce the intake of highly processed foods, sugar, and saturated fats, as they can negatively impact brain health over time. Regular physical exercise is another powerful tool for protecting the brain. Exercise doesn't have to mean intense workouts. It can be as simple as daily walks, gentle stretching, yoga, or water aerobics. Moving your body boosts blood flow to the brain, improves cardiovascular health, and reduces the risk of conditions like diabetes and hypertension, which are closely linked to dementia. Staying active also helps reduce stress and improve sleep, both of which are essential for brain function. Speaking of sleep, getting quality rest is crucial. Many people underestimate how important sleep is for memory and mental clarity. During deep sleep, the brain clears out waste products, including harmful proteins that are linked to Alzheimer's disease. Older adults should aim for 7 to 8 hours of sleep each night and establish a regular sleep routine, going to bed and waking up at the same time every day, creating a relaxing bedtime ritual, and limiting screen time or heavy meals before sleep. If sleep problems persist, it's important to consult a doctor, as untreated sleep disorders like sleep apnea can increase dementia risk. Staying mentally and socially active is equally vital. The brain is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Engaging in intellectually stimulating activities such as reading, puzzles, learning a new skill, or even playing a musical instrument can help build what experts call cognitive reserve. This reserve can delay the onset of dementia symptoms, even in those with underlying brain changes. Social interaction is also key. Conversations with friends, participating in group activities, volunteering, or joining clubs or classes can all keep the mind sharp and ward off feelings of isolation, which is a known risk factor for cognitive decline. Managing chronic health conditions is another part of the equation. Diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and obesity have all been linked to an increased risk of dementia. That's why regular checkups, taking medications as prescribed, and making lifestyle changes recommended by a healthcare provider are essential. Smoking and excessive alcohol consumption are also harmful to brain health and should be avoided. Mental well-being should not be overlooked. Chronic stress, anxiety, and depression can take a toll on the brain over time. Practicing relaxation techniques such as meditation, mindfulness, deep breathing, or spending time in nature can improve mood and protect memory. If you or someone you know is experiencing persistent sadness or anxiety, reaching out for professional help is an act of strength, not weakness. Another helpful habit is keeping a sense of purpose and staying curious. Whether it's tending to a garden, writing in a journal, mentoring younger people, or setting small goals for yourself, having a reason to get up in the morning can keep the mind focused and engaged. People who feel connected to their communities and have strong emotional bonds often report better mental clarity and resilience. It's also wise to protect your head from injury, as traumatic brain injuries can increase dementia risk later in life. This includes wearing seatbelts, using handrails, and making the home safer to prevent falls. Something as simple as removing loose rugs or improving lighting in the hallway can make a big difference. Finally, regular memory screenings or checkups can help catch problems early. Being proactive about brain health means staying informed and not ignoring changes in memory, language, or behavior. The earlier any signs are identified, the better the chances of slowing progression and improving quality of life. In summary, preventing dementia isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about building a lifestyle that supports your brain just like you support the rest of your body, with care, consistency, and compassion. Every walk you take, every book you read, every laugh you share with a friend, it all matters. It's never too late to start caring for your brain, and the steps you take today could make all the difference for your memory, your independence, and your future. If you stayed with us this far, thank you, and know that you've already taken the first, most important step, becoming informed. Awareness is powerful. Just by learning more about dementia and how it begins, you're better equipped to protect your mind and support your loved ones. But don't stop here. Use this moment as a turning point. Take what you've heard today and turn it into action, even if it's just one small change at a time. Maybe it's going for a short walk each morning. Maybe it's calling an old friend for a chat. Or maybe it's finally starting that puzzle, book, or project you've been putting off. These little actions, when done consistently, can help build a strong defense for your brain and a better quality of life for years to come. The truth is, aging doesn't have to mean losing yourself. Many people live long, full lives with sharp minds, strong relationships, and a deep sense of joy and purpose. The key is not waiting for symptoms to appear, but doing what you can now to stay mentally and emotionally healthy. Whether you're in your 60s, 70s, 80s, or beyond, it's never too late to start caring for your brain. Your choices matter. Your efforts matter. And most of all, you matter. We also encourage you to be a voice in your community. Share this video with your family, friends, neighbors, or anyone you think could benefit from it. So many people still don't know the early signs of dementia or the steps they can take to reduce their risk. By sharing this knowledge, you're not only helping yourself, you're helping others stay informed and empowered. You could be the reason someone else seeks help early, makes a healthy change, or starts taking better care of their mind. If you found this video helpful, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel. We post weekly content focused on health, stories, and tips for older adults because we believe aging should be celebrated, not feared. We're here to walk with you, to learn with you, and to support you on your journey. And finally, don't forget, dementia does not define a person. Behind every diagnosis is a story, a lifetime of memories, wisdom, and love. With the right knowledge, care, and support, we can preserve that story for as long as possible. So take care of your brain, cherish your connections, and never stop learning. Thank you for watching. Stay curious, stay kind, and we'll see you in the next video.